So developing a good mobile application requires thinking about two aspects: the maintainability and the extensibility of your application. For the extensibility, we should think about how much easy it is to add a functionality to your application. That means how much easy I can add new code inside my application, and how much easy I can add new methods or new classes inside my application. And the second aspect is the maintainability. The maintainability means how much easy I can unit test my application. As you know, writing unit tests is really required and is almost a must-have for the good quality applications nowadays. To achieve these two aspects, we can use design patterns. Fortunately, there is some good design patterns that are good to use with Xamarin Forms applications. The most known one is MVVM design patterns. MVVM stands for Model View Models. And the MVVM design pattern could solve the issues about maintainability and extendability by separating the UI code from the business logic code. And by doing that, we'll have an application that is easy to maintain and easy to extend. So in this video, we'll learn how we can implement MVVM design pattern in our Xamarin Forms application. So I go here inside my Visual Studio, and here first thing to learn is that MVVM is a design pattern that organizes how your code is organized inside your solution or inside your project. And with MVVM, as with MVC architecture, we have three layers of code. The first one is the models, and the models is the folder or is the place where you put your models and your entities. Then we'll have the view models. The view models will use these models and will add some business logic code to operate or to use these models to bind them to the user interface. The user interface will have a separate folder, that's the views. So I hope that the flow is clear for you. So we'll have the models folder, then we'll have the view models, then we'll have the views. So let's start by creating these folders. So I'll go here to my portable project, right click and select add new folder. Let's call it the models folder. So let's add a class here. And let's call it employee. So let's imagine here I want to implement a directory for employees. Inside this directory, I can show all the list of my employees, and I can then add, delete, or edit any employee inside my directory. So I'll go and call it employee. The public employee class will have two properties. The first one of type string, which will be the name of the employee, and the second one is also of type string, but this time it's the department where the employee is working. You notice here we use properties, not attributes or not fields. Why? Because it's required to use properties to bind these property in the views later. So now let's add the ViewModels folder. And I'll add the first view model. I'll call it main view model. Again, it's a public class. And inside my view model, I use the employee entity. For that, I'll go and create a list of employees. Remember, the application we are creating is a directory for employees. So here, I'll go and create the list for the employees. Let's call it employees list. Okay. So now this list of employees is empty. To add data to it, I'll go and add a new folder. I call it services. Inside this services folder, I'll add a new class and call it data services or employees services. This public class will be responsible for getting and creating employees. So it has a method that returns a list of employees. Let's import that namespace. This method will be named GetEmployees. And inside this class, it depends on which you are storing these employees in a SQLite database locally in your phone, or you are storing them on a web service. So for the sake of this demo, we'll return a basic list or a static list here, and we will be dealing with the SQLite database and the web services in the next videos. So here let's create the list. Let's say it's a list of employees. And inside that list, I'll add some employees here. Each employee has the name and department. So let's say here it's marketing. So now that we have created that list, let's return it. Return list. So our employee services have a list, and it will return that list by invoking the method GetEmployees. We'll use this method to feed this employees list inside my view model here. And I'll do that inside my constructor. So I'll go and create a constructor. So you see here I use a shortcut or a snippet. So to generate the constructor, I just type CTOR. So you get this out of the box inside Visual Studio. So you type CTOR, then you type tab or enter. This way it will generate the constructor for you. So inside this constructor, I'll go and create an employees services instance equal new employees services, and here, as I am using a resharper, it adds the namespace automatically for me. We'll use this employees services to feed the employees list. For here, I'll go and say employees list equal employee services, and I'll go and invoke the GetEmployees method. So this way, my employees list contains all the data from the GetEmployees list. So now that we have implemented the main view model, there is some other thing that is important to do, which is to make the main view model inherits from iNotify property changed. This interface will enable me to refresh the interface, the user interface, and each time my employees list changes its value. So it's an interface, so we should go and implement it. Again, as I am using ReSharper, I can go and click Alt Enter, or click inside this icon here and select Implement iNotify property changed. By selecting this option, I get this dialog, and here I'll type no. And what this have done, it has implemented the interface for me and added the missing members, which are these two things here. So it adds this property, this attribute, and this method. This method is the one we'll use to refresh our user interface to tell it that the property we are binding, it has changed its value, so go and change to the new value. We'll use that here inside the employees list, and to do that I should go and give an implementation to the get and the set. To do that with ReSharper, I go and select employees list, then click on this icon here and type to property with backing field. What ReSharper have done here, it added a backing field, call it also employees list with the underscore, and gave an implementation for my get and set using that private field. To this, I will add a call to the onProperty changed. The method, as we said here, it will notify the user interface each time the employees list have changed its value. So changing the value could be done by invoking this set method here. So in each time I change the value, give it a new value, I'll go and call the onProperty changed to refresh the user interface. So now we have the models, which is the employee. We have the main view, the view model, which is the main view model here. And now we'll add a folder called views. As we said, MVVM stands for the models, views, and the view models. So here is our views folder, And for the views folder, we put in it our user interfaces, which are in my case here the main page. So by default here, the main page is at the root of your project. But to respect MVVM, we should go and place it inside our views folder here. So now we'll go and bind this view to our view model. And the way to do that, actually there is two options to do that. Either you go to the constructor of the main page and select use a binding context and give it a new main view model, or you can go and select that from this content page, from the XAML code. I'll go for the second option because with this option I'll get IntelliSense enabled when I write my code, when I bind to properties inside that view model. So I'll go and remove that from here, and instead I'll go and bind it here. So I'll go and write content page dot binding context, and here I'll go and bind it to my main view model. To do that, first I need to add a reference to add a namespace to the view models folder, or to the view models namespace actually. So my application is called Xamarin Demo, so I'll go and select this one, Xamarin Demo app dot view models. And here you notice that ReSharper adds this assembly reference automatically for me. So I get this namespace from my main view model namespace here. So because here I enabled my application Xamarin Demo app, and the namespace in which resides the main view model is the view models. So you just go and copy this one and use it in this area here. So now we have created the view models. Now to bind it with this content page, I'll go and use that view models, and here you notice that ReSharper automatically recognizes that there is a class called main view model inside that namespace. So with these lines of code, now my user interface recognizes every attribute or every property inside my main view model. My main view model contains a list of employees here. I want to show this list of employees in my user interface. For that, I'll go and get rid of this default label here, and I'll add instead a list view to show the employees. So as we saw in previous videos, inside the list views here, I'll give it the items using the items source property, and then I go and use binding. And here you notice I get employees list inside this context here. So this is one of the advantages of using binding context inside your XAML code, because here it recognizes I'm using the main view model. Remember when we tried to add the binding context inside the code behind here? So if you do that, then you won't get IntelliSense enabled here. You won't get, for example, all the properties inside the main view model. So this makes your life a little bit easier. So let's select that we want to bind that list view to the employees list. With that, there is another property you should set, which has an even row. You should tell it true. And now we'll go and create our item template. We'll go and select data template. Inside that data template, we should use a view cell. And inside that view cell, I'll add a stack layout. Set its orientation to be horizontal. Inside this stack layout, I'll show the names and the departments of each of my employees. So let's start by showing their names. So let's bind each employee to each name to this label. So I select that. I copy this label, but here I'll go and select the department instead of the name. So you see here again I get full IntelliSense enabled inside my XAML code. So this way I have binded my main view model to my view, to my user interface. And inside this list view, I have binded the employees list so that I can show the name and department of each of my employees. So now let's run this application and see it in action. So now you could see that my applications get this list of the employees and show them in each platform. That's all using the MVVM design pattern here, where we have the models, the view models, and the views folders. Each one contains special classes to work with that part of the application. So I hope this was good for you, and thank you.